So this weekend is a very auspicious weekend. The celebration of lifting Govardhana hill. Hare Krishna. So we're at a very special place, New Vrindavan. New Vrindavan is just like Vrindavan. And the lifting of Govardhana hill, so we have our Govardhana hill here, and we can circumambulate the hill. Usually, you have to go all the way to India, and then the hill, I think it must be about 12 or 14 miles around, so it takes about 3 or 4 hours to circumambulate the hill. Usually people are going in barefoot, and so we're very fortunate. We don't have to take that much trouble. We can simply circumambulate the hill here in New Vrindavan, and we'll receive the same benefit of going all the way to India. Prabhupada, I heard in 1972 when he was here, I was at a darshan with Prabhupada, and he was speaking about New Vrindavan. And he said, this New Vrindavan is non-different than Vrindavan in India. And anyone who comes to New Vrindavan will get the same blessings. It's going all the way to Vrindavan. And so Prabhupada, he had a very special hopes for a New Vrindavan. And he was very proud. He would always talk about New Vrindavan wherever he went. And so today I'd like to share the story of the lifting of Govardhana hill. Of course, there are many different stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's recommended. The interesting thing is that Prabhupada fervently recommends that one read the Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning, from the first canto and the second canto and the third canto, all the way through to the 12 cantos. This is the recommendation by the saintly personalities, not to jump ahead. But Prabhupada is very extraordinary, very kind and merciful. A few years after he got here, then he published, one of the first literatures he published is the Krishna book, which is the study of the 10th canto. So even though Prabhupada is saying, don't jump ahead, just systematically go through the Srimad Bhagavatam, but immediately, Prabhupada is jumping immediately to the 10th canto and giving the devotees the 10th canto. So this is Prabhupada's great mercy upon the devotees here in America. And so we can study these stories. And the story of the lifting of Govardhana hill, you know, this time of year is very special actually. Here in America, later this month, we'll be studying or celebrating Thanksgiving. So every culture has a time for Thanksgiving. I know in Israel, in the Jewish tradition, they take that time when the harvest is coming in. I forget the name, Sukkot I think it's called. The harvest is coming in. And so the people of the village, they couldn't spare a moment even. And so they would build little huts right by the field. And so immediately when they woke up, they immediately can go to work bringing in the harvest. And so this is a Sukkot. And so we also have the Thanksgiving. And in Israel and other places, people are building these little huts. They don't live in their apartment or their home. They go outside, and even if outside in the street, they build a little shack temporarily. So this is very important. This is traditional. And so in India at that time, actually the residents of Vrindavan, they were getting ready. There was a whole hubbub of activity. People are running here and there. Nanda Maharaj, he's shouting orders and pointing to go here and pointing to go there. And there's a great amount of activity going on. People are collecting various utensils and various things to perform this sacrifice. And so Krishna is looking at this. Krishna is only 6 or 7 years old. And he's looking around at all of the people rushing around like mad people. And he asks his father, "My dear father, tell me, what is this festival about that you're celebrating, that you're getting ready, this sacrifice?" And his father stops and looks at Krishna. But his father, Nanda Maharaj, doesn't think that Krishna will understand. And so momentarily, he can't say a word. He doesn't know what to say. And Krishna teasingly tells his father, "My dear father, there is no secrets. Are you keeping secrets from me? There's no secrets between friends and family members. There shouldn't be any secrets. And also, even the sages, they don't distinguish between friend or enemy. They're totally truthful. They keep no secrets. They tell the truth. So, my dear father, let me know what is this type of celebration that you're preparing for, this sacrifice? Is it a Vedic injunction? Or is it just some traditional ritual that you're performing?" And so Nanda Maharaj tells the boy, "My dear son, this is a ceremony. It's a traditional type of a ceremony that we are honoring King Indra. King Indra is bestowing upon us his mercy of water. Water is very, very important in our lives. No one can live without water. And so we are thanking King Indra in this ceremony. And so water is pretty amazing. There's all sorts of amazing things. You can drink the water, and you can also cook with water. If you're cooking rice and other things, you need water. Also, to clean yourself, to clean your home, you need water. And if you're farming and growing the fruits and the vegetables and the grains, you have to have water. And you can't just come along and produce the water. The water is coming in the rain clouds. And so the interesting thing that water has amazing properties. You know, if it gets if the water begins to get hotter and hotter, you know, when you boil the water, then the water turns into steam. And if it's too cold, and if it begins to rain, so it's not raining, what is it doing? It's snowing. It's the same element, but now because of the temperature, it's turned into snow. And so Krishna has arranged that actually very often that water is stored for us in the mountaintops in the form of snow. So that's reserve. When we're using the water up, and then later on, then in the heat of the summer, maybe it doesn't rain. But the snow is melting from the mountaintops and running down the rivers and fertilizing the fields. And so this is all a divine arrangement. This is divinely arranged by the Supreme Lord. And Indra plays an element here. he's supplying the water with the clouds. And so Krishna is telling his father, you know, I don't think we need this Indra fellow. Krishna is speaking like this because he has a plan. You know, Indra is very proud. He's very proud of himself. But now we'll see that Indra actually, Krishna pulls the rug out of Indra, from underneath Indra. And so Krishna is telling his father, you know, my dear father, out in the middle of the ocean, there's rain coming down. Nobody's out there in the middle of the ocean worshiping Indra. And high up in the mountains where nobody lives, nobody is up there worshiping Indra, but still the rain is falling, the snow is falling, and in the ocean the rain is falling. So what do we need to worship Indra for? And so now our little Krishna, he is causing a little stir, and there's a group of elders that come around who are supporting, who are defending Nanda Maharaj. And they're all chiming in with their different opinions that yes, we need to worship Indra. It's imperative. And Krishna says, you know what? One of the things that's important, let me see if I can get this is the exact quote that Krishna explains. He said, one thing that's important, and you may recognize this a little bit. Krishna says, let us rather perform our prescribed duties very nicely. Actually, one cannot be happy without executing his proper prescribed duties. So, this is elaborated by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, the 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga. Krishna is talking about performing prescribed duties. And he's saying it's better to perform your own duty rather than doing someone else's duty it's better to perform your own duty imperfectly rather than performing somebody else's duty perfectly. We'll never be happy unless we perform our natural prescribed duties. Now in the caste system, of course, everything is done by birth, but that's not necessarily the case. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita never mentions, in describing the Vedic system, in describing Varnashram system, he never mentions Janma. Janma is birth. But he mentions 2 other qualities that prepare us for the things that we do. What is our inclination? What is he says the Janma and Karma, Guna. Actually, he mentions not Janma, but Guna. So Guna is our inclination. What are we inclined to do? What is our duty? Some people know their duties pretty early in life. Like myself, I was always interested in communication because I came from another country. I came from Germany to America at the age of 5 years old. I didn't speak a word of English. And I was thrust into the public schools. And communication is always very important. And I wanted to know how to communicate. I began doing some poetry and writing, and later on in college I entered into theater. So that was always with me early in life. Other people, like my wife Ruchi, she didn't know really what she was inclined to do. Even after college, she really still didn't know what she wanted to do. But when we moved to New Vrindavan, one of the ladies, Mother Katila, Kuladri's wife, the president, she suggested to her, she knew that Ruchi went to college. So she suggested, why don't you start teaching in our school? And so Ruchi tried it, and now after 40 years, she's still teaching in the school. So in one sense, some people may find out early their prescribed duty. Other people may not find out until much later. And so my wife, she's found out her prescribed duty. I have found out mine. And so even if it's done imperfectly, it's better than doing somebody else's perfectly, because we'll never ever be happy. And so this is Krishna, what he's saying even here. And even here in this story, he's explaining to his father and to the elders of the village the whole Varnashram scheme he's describing. And he says, well, everyone has to perform this prescribed duty. The Brahmanas, they study the Vedas, they're giving knowledge. They're repositories for knowledge. They're providing this knowledge to anyone and everyone. They're teachers. You know, usually if you want to get a tutor for your child, or if you need some education, it costs money. But the Brahmanas are not charging anything. Actually, if you give Brahmanas dakshin, that's fine, whatever you can give. But there's no set cost. And so the Brahmanas are giving freely the knowledge of the Vedic literatures that they have studied. And this is their prescribed duty. And the Kshatriyas, the warriors, their prescribed duty, Krishna says, is to administrate and to protect the citizens of the land. And the Sudras, their prescribed duty is to assist in working and helping the other three classes. And the third class that I haven't mentioned, this is Krishna's class, the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas are protecting the cows, they're growing the vegetables, they're trading. It's also, Krishna explains that they're also bankers. And so this is very interesting. So this Krishna briefly explains the entire nature. So Krishna is saying, well, if you want to be happy, there's no need to worship Indra. If you want to be happy, just follow our prescribed duties. And so we are protecting the cows, we are in the forest, we have the fields, growing the fruits and the vegetables. So, and even though the Nanda Maharaj and the elders are making some objections, Krishna is saying, no, this is what we're connected to. We're not connected to the cities. No, we're connected to the land of Vrindavan. We're connected to the cows. We're connected to our local Brahmins. And we're also connected to Govardhana Hill. Govardhana Hill is so very wonderful. And so we should be honoring Govardhana Hill rather than some far-off King Indra. And so finally, the Nanda Maharaj, he relents. He said, my dear boy, we'll make your celebration. First, let us do our celebration, and then we'll make your celebration afterwards. And Krishna, he is very emphatic. He won't let them get away with anything. And Krishna explains, no, better to do it right away. We need to do it right away. And so finally the Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, and the elders of the village, they acquiesce. They submit to Krishna's desire. And they say, well, what do we need to do? And Krishna explains the entire festival. This is the first time, I was saying the other day, there's so many different festivals. You know, I read that out of all of the different religions, the Hindu tradition has the most festivals. It's the most joyous religions. There's so many festivals, there's so many different colorful activities, decorating the altars and making celebrations, making big feasts and chanting mantras. So this is a very joyful religious tradition, and out of all of the religions, the Hinduism has the most festivals. Of course, we're not really Hindus. We're Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas even higher than Hindus, because every religion, they have their particular traditional things, and they have what they're concerned about, their different particular populations. The Jewish population, the Hindu population, the Muslim population. But the Vaishnavas, their hearts are going out to everyone. One of the great qualities of the Vaishnavas is the compassion. We want to help everyone. We want to assist everyone with knowledge. That's why Prabhupada came to America. He could have stayed in India if he wanted to. He was very happily situated in Vrindavan in India. But he took great pains to come to America to present this ancient Vaishnava tradition. So anyways, so Krishna tells the residents, this is how the festival should be celebrated. And Krishna is creating, this is really amazing, that Krishna is creating this festival. We don't celebrate any other festival that Krishna has created. So this is a very endearing, very special festival that we must participate in. Maybe you might forget somebody's birthday. Usually the festivals are based on some birthday, some appearance day, Janmashtami, Gaur Purnima, so many holidays commemorating a birthday. But this is a festival that Krishna himself has created. It's pretty remarkable. And now Krishna is going to tell the residents of Vrindavan how to celebrate the festival. He says, I want everyone to cook in their homes, cook rice and pakora and halava and sabjis and sendes and samosas and all sorts of wonderful, remarkable foods. There's no more remarkable foods than the Indian vegetarian foods. There's a wide assortment of varieties of edibles, and they're described in different ways. Some of the edibles are bitter, some of the edibles are sweet, some of the edibles you have to chew, some of the edibles you can swallow. So there's a whole science about how to prepare and how to eat properly. But so Krishna is saying, prepare nice foods. And also we're going to have a wonderful parade. Dress in your best clothes. Decorate the cows. And we're going to circumambulate. To honor Govardhana Hill, we're going to circumambulate the entire hill. And like I mentioned, the hill is about 12 or 14 miles around. It might take 3 or 4 hours to go around the hill. And they're having a great festival, and the cows are running ahead, and everyone is so very joyful. And at the end, then they come back and they take a big feast. And then they offer actually, the food to Govardhana Hill. And all of a sudden the personality of Govardhana emerges. And Govardhana is eating the food, eating the preparations. And he's yelling, Aniyor. I'm pronouncing it correctly. Aniyor. What does that mean? Bring me more. So the personality of Govardhan, he's consuming. The interesting thing is he's consuming so much, but still there's so much available for the residents. And even he's still not satisfied. Aniyor, bring me more. And so everyone is struck with wonder. And Krishna himself says at the end of the festival, everyone is so thoroughly satisfied seeing the personality of Govardhan and seeing Krishna and eating the prasadam. But Krishna warns anyone that you make sure you perform this festival in your own lives. Make sure you honor Govardhan Hill. If not, then you will be bitten by the poisonous snakes that live on Govardhan Hill if you don't honor the hill properly. So we have to be careful. There's a downside to not performing the festival properly, that we can be bitten by the poisonous snakes on Govardhan Hill. And also Krishna explains that Govardhan Hill is so important in our lives because the cows are eating the grass on the hill. And the grass is very sweet. And so when we milk the cows, that milk from Govardhan, the grass that they've eaten from Govardhan Hill, that transfers into the milk, and the milk is very sweet. And also there's many other benefits, that there's medicinal herbs. You know, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the healing herb. And Krishna mentions that on the Govardhan Hill there are many medicinal herbs that are growing for our health. And when it rains, then the streams are rushing down the hill, and in the ground, in the rocks that the water is running over, that there are nourishing minerals. You know, nowadays, if you have some ailment, you have to run out and buy a bunch of minerals, or buy a bunch of vitamins. But no, Krishna says, no, when the water is running down Govardhan Hill, and there's so many nourishing minerals in the rocks and in the ground, and the water collects those minerals. And when we drink that water is so, not only so refreshing, but it's so healthy. It's so important to maintain our health. And so there are many, many benefits, Krishna explains. And so anyways, everyone is very happy by worshiping Govardhan Hill, except for one person who's not very happy at all, King Indra. King Indra is up in the heavens, and even though he's surrounded by untold wealth, he doesn't care. He's steaming. He's so angry, and he's looking down, and he's telling his friends, look at the residents of Vrindavan. They're infatuated by this impudent little child. They are neglecting my authority, neglecting my worship. Instead, they are listening to this talkative little boy about worshiping some stupid hill. I'm going to have to teach the residents of Vrindavan a lesson. He's not even planning to teach them a lesson. Actually, he gets together his most dangerous clouds, the Samvartaka. You know, the Samvartaka clouds are coming at the end of each day of Brahma to annihilate, a partial annihilation of the universe. And so Indra has an arsenal of various weapons in the form of different clouds. Just like in the wars, World War II, they had an arsenal of different weapons. Later on, they finished World War II. They had the atomic bomb that they dropped, which was their most devastating weapon at the time. But they had weapons that were 50 pounds, weapons that were 100 pounds, or 200 pounds, or 500 pounds, even 1,000 pounds. But the atomic bomb was all of those weapons put together, even greater, the atomic bomb. And so in Indra's arsenal, then he got out his major weapons, his most devastating weapons, the Samvartaka clouds. And then when he called them, sometimes like in a fire department, the firemen are asleep, and then their alarm rings, and then the firemen jump up and they have to go out and fight a fire. So the Samvartaka clouds, they're sleeping. And Indra, he sounds the alarm. And they say, well, what are you waking us up for now? We don't have to annihilate the universe. That's later on. What are you waking us up now? And Indra explains to them, I want you to go to Vrindavan and annihilate Vrindavan. Wipe Vrindavan and the residents of Vrindavan off of the face of the earth. They have displeased me. And so this is a story, I always say, about a man who has been neglected. Sometimes in our own lives, we all at one point or another feel neglected. Sometimes we're feeling neglected in our family life. We're working so hard. Our children are not, they don't appreciate how hard the mother and the father is working. And sometimes in the office, they don't acknowledge the work that I'm contributing. And so there may be various reasons why sometimes we're feeling neglected. And so this is a story about a man who feels neglected. And sometimes, if somebody feels neglected, they become very dangerous. So we never want to have anyone feel neglected. In society, people feel neglected. They go into a place, a workplace, or their school or their college, and they with a gun, and they get so angry, no one's paying attention to them, and they're shooting up the place. People are killed. Or sometimes people who feel neglected, like King Indra, he is so powerful, his anger is so devastating. So this is one of the big problems in our culture, in our society. So people are feeling neglected. So the right wing is feeling neglected, the left wing is feeling neglected, people are at each other's throats. So this is a great concern. So many of the problems that we have is basically due to people feeling neglected. And so we need to make sure that, Prabhupada, in starting the Hare Krishna Movement, he wanted to be inclusive. He wanted to make sure that everyone was included. And he didn't want to be exclusive. He wanted everyone to be included. And so this is actually good management, to make sure that everyone is included in one way or another. And Prabhupada said that it's important that the leaders, the managers, make sure that everyone is engaged, just like Krishna is explaining here, to be engaged in one's prescribed duty, in what we're inclined to do, what we're eager to do. And so there's three types of work. There's one type of work is emergency work, that if there's some emergency, then everyone has to jump up and tend to the emergency. So if there's a fire here in the temple, somebody will say, well, I'm a cook. I'm not a fireman. I'm a cook. No, everyone has to become a fireman. This is an emergency. So there's the emergency. Then there's I forget now the second, but the third one is the prescribed duties, our inclined duties in life. So there's the emergency duties and our preferable, what we prefer to be in. Of course, there's also day-to-day duties, I think. That's the second category. The day-to-day duties, that means that if the dishes have to be done, it's not an emergency, and the mother asks the children, do the dishes. Mom, I don't want to do the dishes. So it might not be something that you're inclined to do, but it's a duty. It's something that we should do. And so there's the emergency duties and the regular duties, like doing the dishes or cleaning up, and then our preferable duties. So these are the three categories. And so, but anyways, here, now King Indra, like I said, he is feeling totally neglected, and he feels so angry because he's been neglected. And he's sending the rain clouds of devastation, and the rain is starting to come down. The clouds are gathering from all directions. It becomes very dark and very sinister looking, and the rain begins to fall. And it's falling and falling. At first, Krishna is thinking, maybe I should go up to the heavens and chastise King Indra. But then the residents, Krishna, please help us, help us. No, yes, first tend to your friends. Don't bother chastising. No, Krishna would rather assist his friends first. And so all of the residents of Vrindavan, they seeing a devastating rainfall coming. And Krishna, he holds up the hill with his left finger. And all of the residents come underneath Govardhana hill throughout this devastating rainfall. It lasts for 7 days. And all of the cows and the residents are underneath the rain, the hill, and the rain is coming down. A huge deluge of rain. The entire landscape is covered, but they're safe. Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan are safe under the hill, acting like a big umbrella. And so in this way, they are spending time together. And so even though it's a calamity, in every dark cloud, they say there's a silver lining. And so now, even though it's a devastating time for the residents of Vrindavan, practically speaking, they've been driven out of their homes. They're taking shelter underneath this hill. But it's still a special time, because now all of the residents of Vrindavan can be together in one place. And it's such a beautiful atmosphere. No one's hungry, no one's thirsty, everyone's happy. Even Krishna's friends, his cowherd friends, after a while they say, Krishna, why don't you take a break? Let us hold up the hill for you. And Mother Yasoda is massaging Krishna's hand. Krishna, listen to your friends. Take a break. Come, eat something. I prepared something for you. Take prasad. And so everyone is looking upon Krishna, and Krishna, he's also gazing upon the gopis, and the gopis are gazing upon Krishna, and everyone is enjoying themselves. So this is a hidden opportunity. Even though there's a calamity, still it provides the residents of Vrindavan to come together. Just like if you look at the pictures here in the middle, you know, there's a picture of Krishna playing with his friends, frolicking in the field. And on this side there's Krishna and the gopis. And on the other side here there's Krishna running home to his mother and father. So these events usually are going on in different places. Usually the gopis don't meet the cowherd boys. Maybe there might be some overlapping. Usually the gopis, they're in their own homes, they're not with Krishna and his mother and father. But now, this is a special opportunity. They're all together, and they're having a wonderful time. And they're together 7 days and 7 nights, and nobody's complaining. King Indra, the clouds are finally exhausted. They're totally exhausted, and then they go back to King Indra. And he asks his scouts, he's saying, the residents of Vrindavan, the village of Vrindavan must have been totally annihilated. And his scouts tell him, they're afraid to tell him actually. He said, you know, no one's been disturbed in Vrindavan by your attack. Everyone's very content. Everyone's very happy. They had a big festival. You know what? All of that rain, it didn't disturb even one single ant. There was no leaves. Nothing was disturbed in Vrindavan. Nothing at all. Your whole attack didn't make one single disturbance in Vrindavan. And so King Indra finally, he understood. Now he came to some realization. First he went back to his palace, King Indra, and he is thinking to himself, his palace doesn't look so grand anymore. His palace looks like a dungeon. He's living like a pauper. He is beside himself with guilt. He's saying, I have attacked Krishna, who, now I understand, Krishna is not an ordinary, talkative, impudent little child, but Krishna is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is in the hearts of all beings. He is actually my life and soul, and I have hurled thunderbolts at the residents of Vrindavan. I hurled thunderbolts that landed on Govardhana hill. I might as well have beaten my own head up rather than done such a thing to the residents of Vrindavan. And it is my great misfortune to treat Krishna's devotees in such a way. So he came to this realization. And then afterwards, we all know that he met Krishna in a secluded place. Let me finish by reading just a few of his prayers. Let's see. He says, my dear Lord, you are the original father of this cosmic manifestation. You are the supreme spiritual master of this cosmic world, and you are the original proprietor of everything. As eternal time, you are competent to chastise offenders. Within the material world, there are many fools like myself who consider themselves to be the Supreme Lord, or the all in all within the universe. You are so merciful that without punishing their offenses, you devise means so that their false prestige is subdued, and they can know that you and none else are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so this, one of Krishna's plans, was to help King Indra in his spiritual path. Because King Indra was a devotee, but devotees sometimes have imperfections. Nobody in this world is perfect. We all have our own imperfections. And so if Krishna is very kind, he'll put us into a situation that will squeeze out these little imperfections that we have. And so we can be very thankful. Like I said earlier, this holiday and the various holidays in different cultures are Thanksgiving. We can be thankful. So let us, in our hearts, find a little time to be thankful and to be have gratitude for what Krishna has given us, and maybe even for what Krishna has not given us. And so we can take this weekend of celebrating the lifting of Govardhana hill to find the gratitude in our hearts, to be grateful for the things that we have, and also for the punishments that Krishna has not sent us. So Krishna is very merciful. He gives us what we don't deserve, and he withholds punishments that we do deserve. And anyways, it's a pleasure to talk about these wonderful pastimes of the Lord, and to honor this weekend. And also tomorrow is honoring the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada. And if you're here, please participate in all of these events, because you're pilgrims coming on pilgrimage to New Vrindavan. So as pilgrims, try to participate in whatever way you can. But if at least one of the main things that Prabhupada requests is to chant the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So thank you so very much for your kind attention. Are there any final thoughts? So I think prasadam will be served out in just a couple of minutes. Is it going to be over here? The prasadam is through the door, the breakfast. And so I hope you have an enjoyable weekend. And please share your experience here. When you go home, share your experience with your friends and your family. Tell them all about New Vrindavan. Everyone has to come here and experience this transcendental atmosphere of New Vrindavan community established by Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hari Bolo, Jai Radhe. Thank you.